I think every family therapist has a story, and even before they learn the systemic language, they've always thought that way.
So I absolutely love being a therapist. It's one of the reasons why I became a researcher and one of the reasons why I became a professor.
Therapy. It's been getting a lot of attention, and more people are becoming open to its benefits. Historically, therapy has been steeped in stigma, making it difficult for people to ask for help. But thanks to the work of incredible therapists and clients who have normalized it within public discourse, therapy is now more accepted than ever before. On this episode of Jobs of Tomorrow, we're discussing the world of therapy and talking to some of the occupation's leading experts. The idea of therapy has existed in many forms over thousands of years, if not longer. The most general definition is remediation of health issues through treatment. But therapy, as we know it today, typically refers to healing through conversation or other methods between a client and a trained therapist. Marriage and family therapy helps individual clients and families alike by understanding all the factors that lead to the challenges they are experiencing. Rather than focusing on an individual's issues out of context, marriage and family therapists work with clients to connect context with systemic solutions. For example, take Alex, a teenager with behavioral issues at school. Instead of labeling Alex as a troublemaker, a marriage and family therapist might involve Alex's parents, teachers, and peers to understand the various aspects affecting Alex's behavior. By looking at the bigger picture, they could uncover family dynamics or social pressures that contribute to Alex's challenges and work towards a holistic solution.
Marriage and family therapists focus on systems and the interplay of relationships between self and others. So when proposing solutions, we go beyond the individual and also consider the different relationships they're embedded in.
Yvonne Harding is an MFT candidate who specializes in marriage and family therapy and addictions counseling.
Marriage and family therapists are extensively trained in approaching problems from a relational perspective, while other counseling approaches focus on individuals and their symptoms. So this holistic approach really allows us to empower clients to understand themselves, the interactions they're a part of, and how to better affect change.
Marriage and family therapy, also referred to as systemic therapy, attempts to understand underlying dynamics between people in various relationships. Dr. Deanna Harris McCoy is a licensed marriage and family therapist who works as an associate professor and program director for the Marriage and Family Therapy program at the University of Northern Illinois.
So I conduct therapy, I conduct research, I have a lot of meetings because I'm a program director. I meet with students, I meet with community members, I meet with internship sites, I meet with various administrators at the university. I also do consulting work. My everyday looks very different.
Many marriage and family therapists, or MFTs, wear a lot of hats. But what exactly does an MFT do? And how are they different from any other therapist?
We do not only work with families and couples, we also work with individuals, but it's the how we work with people that makes us very special.
So there's the misconception that therapists give advice or tell people what to do, what their problems are. We actually lead by asking questions and helping the person gain insight and attribute meaning to their life experiences individually.
Dr. Eli Karam is a professor of marriage and family therapy at the University of Louisville in Kentucky, where he's responsible for teaching the next generation of marriage and family therapists. And he's the current host of the AAMFT podcast.
To me, when somebody says systemic solutions, it is a way of thinking. When you think systemically, you are devoted to looking to the person or people in all their systemic context, meaning what is going on at home, what is going on at work or at school, in all of their interpersonal networks, friends, family. So it is not looking at a very linear way of thinking, meaning A causes B. It's like, no, A affects B, bounces off to C in a very recursive way instead of a very linear way.
We're always looking at that space in between, and that space is the relationships. And so we focus a lot on the relationship, and then there's a context that influences that relationship too. And so we're always looking at people in their context, whether that's looking at their race, their ethnicity, their class, their religion, their sexuality, their gender identity, the type of resources or the lack of resources they have. We're always looking at that space in between within a context. It's the system in which they live in that we also have to analyze. And I think for a very long time, we only focused on that family system or a community system, but we also then have to look at that macro system and look at how oppression influences the symptoms that people come in and they're presenting problems.
So when we are looking at systemic solutions, we are looking at the person in all of their contexts. So systemic solutions try to lift as many constraints as possible and work within the constraints that are not liftable.
Coming up.
I think every family therapist has a story, and even before they learn the systemic language, they've always thought that way.
Imagine wiring a house with switches in 3 different rooms, A, B, and C. If there's a short in the wire at some point, electricity to the other rooms will be impacted. Finding that short helps to solve the issues in other areas of the house. Similar to this interconnected system, marriage and family therapists examine the root factors that influence every aspect of your life. Like a complex electrical network, various factors, including relationships, family dynamics, experiences, and emotions, can affect your well-being. MFTs seek a holistic view of your unique situation, recognizing that disruptions in one area can impact the whole system. They aim to understand the complexities of your life and offer support to create positive changes. But you must be wondering, how does someone get into this dynamic line of work in the first place?
I've always really been interested in youth development. Even when I was in high school, I really wanted to pursue a profession that allowed me to help youth. And so one summer I had an experience where I learned that we can not only give youth skills and knowledge and training, we really also have to help their families and communities.
Luckily for Dr. Harris McCoy, she took a course that changed her perspective and career trajectory.
I had an introduction to marriage and family therapy course, and it just changed my whole view of helping. And I learned that in order to help youth, I have to help change family dynamics. And systemic thinking in marriage and family therapy was going to do that. So once I learned about the field of marriage and family therapy, I went and got a master's in marriage and family therapy from Drexel University. Then I went to get a PhD in marriage and family therapy from the Florida State University. So I love the field of marriage and family therapy.
And sometimes it's personal and rooted in one's family life all along.
I think every family therapist has a story, and even before they learn the systemic language, they've always thought that way. So my dynamic is interesting in that I have a twin brother, which made me interested in sibling dynamics, and a parent that was much older than one parent. I'm ethnic looking. I'm 50% Lebanese and Italian, so I have very strong cultural family traditions. And my father passed away when I was 18, which was a really defining moment in my life. And that is when I discovered the power of therapy, family therapy, helping heal grief. And that led me to studying psychology. And I was walking home a couple blocks away from where I lived, and I saw this place called the Family Institute. And it was a recent collaboration between Northwestern University and the Family Institute of Chicago, which was the largest freestanding body in the Midwest, a hub, a think tank for systemic family therapy. I got my PhD in marriage and family therapy from Purdue, and then after that ended up back in my hometown. That's the short story, and I've been here for I'm entering my 16th year as a faculty member and full professor.
Just like Dr. Karam, many early career therapists, like Yvonne, are starting their journey of exploration while healing the wounds they have seen or may have experienced themselves.
So studying psychology definitely was a part of my self-discovery process. I had a lot of hardships growing up and unfortunately faced a lot of stigmas around accessing mental health care in my country. So I decided to try to learn a little bit about myself through psychology, understanding the human mind and behavior, and then through personal therapy.
While she was living and studying in Venezuela, Yvonne was caught amidst a mass protest that enveloped the country.
I began to participate in peaceful activism, and once protests became violent and people started getting murdered and captured, imprisoned by police forces, I decided to start the first aid movement of my university. So we would go to the protests with emergency kits that were created with the intention of having resources to heal wounds and be able to pull people out of the mass protests.
Feeling powerless while fighting for social changes also became a defining moment for her, of finding power, making a difference, and providing support to others.
I believe that through the distance, it's still possible to make an impact and support others. I make sure I'm involved with organizations that support education, shelters, and food for youth. And I keep my country in mind always, because I definitely would like to go back to Venezuela eventually and help make the mental health system over there function more ethically and effectively.
The common thread between these therapists seems to be their shared interest in marriage and family therapy, whether that originates from a desire to help others or to better understand themselves.
One of the things that you need to know about MFT is how it's both similar and different than the other big mental health professions. I'm talking about clinical psychology, social work, counseling, psychiatric nursing. Well, MFT really prioritizes strength and health and interconnectedness of people.
Pursuing a career in therapy definitely means signing up for a self-discovery journey yourself, because for many people, including myself, becoming a therapist is a trauma response. You become the person you wish you had growing up, or the person you needed. So it can really be a part of that healing experience for anybody that wants to be a part of the change they want to see in the world.
Coming up.
I think that we have changed the definition of what therapy looks like. You don't have to have a diagnosable mental illness to go get help.
Just as a writer finds inspiration in a dog-eared book of poetry, or a mechanic sees the Mona Lisa under the hood of a Rolls Royce, a therapist finds purpose in stories of resilience, growth, and the potential to be better. For each of our therapists, that meant looking inward to find out what drove them, and looking outward to recognize the societal shifts that forever changed them, and so many others.
I was in an MFT classroom the day of 9/11, and I remember that changed everything. And I grew up in a world where you did not have to worry about school shootings or mass terrorism. MFTs are more in demand than ever before, and there are so many social challenges impacting us now. What the pandemic has taught us, it's taught us a lot about a profession, and that people, especially disconnected, shut in, need connection with other people.
Since the pandemic, there was a lot of awareness gained around the importance of mental health and mental health care. I believe that's very impactful to be able to walk with someone and aid in their self-discovery process that allows breaking cycles of violence, trauma, and progressively, I believe that makes the world a better place. If people go to therapy and gain that self-knowledge and heal from the different trauma they've experienced, I believe the world can definitely become a better place.
For the first time in decades, the entire world was shaken by an event that would lead to increased depression and anxiety among a number of other mental illnesses. And people were ready to talk.
We see a lot of celebrities talking about going to therapy. We see a lot of reality stars talking about going to therapy, and they actually have therapy sessions online. I think that we have changed the definition of what therapy looks like. You don't have to have a diagnosable mental illness to go get help.
But in third world countries like Venezuela, there's still a lot of pushback against mental health care because there are a lot of cultural influences that stigmatize mental health for being something that is for quote unquote crazy people.
Therapy may seem like it's becoming less stigmatized, but the truth is, many cultural communities are still wary of seeking mental health care as an act and as an institution.
MFT has come a long way in that in the 70s, your major models, by and large, were designed by white, non-diverse men, groups of men, focused on working with white middle to upper class families. So in the last several decades, MFT has done a great job of expanding the lens, not only in recruiting diverse therapists, but also working with diverse client populations. And many minorities are skeptical of mental health because they have been burned by the system, or they feel like my therapist doesn't look like me.
People that have been historically marginalized, that are currently marginalized, have dealt with a lot of oppression since the beginning. So a lot of what's happening is not new for people. I think it's potentially more visible for some people. That can increase the intensity of people's symptoms. So maybe they had sadness before, or maybe they had some anxiety before, but seeing a lot of the trauma that's happening constantly, whether that's on social media, while it's watching the news, or experiencing low employment or underemployment or lack of resources, increases the intensity of people's symptoms. And therapy is one of the ways to help people manage and regulate some of that.
Accessing therapy can sometimes feel dehumanizing. People sometimes feel left out by the system or misunderstood. So when you as a therapist yourself come from a background that includes a lot of resilience, I think people can overcome that barrier of this person won't be able to relate or understand me, because I will. I'm someone that has endured and faced trauma myself.
Marriage and family therapy is special in that therapists see the fruits of their labor in many places: clinical settings, research findings, and the real world. Dr. Karam believes that an important part of this is that marriage and family therapists should never stop learning.
We need more MFTs doing the research and collaborating with the researchers in order to have real-world research that impacts service delivery, dissemination. So we have to also package research in a way that informs clinicians. They need the information presented in a way that's usable and that helps them, not in the ivory tower of research.
I like to stay modern, up to date. If it's not evidence-based, I don't take it into account. I really like making sure that my training is ongoing and that what I'm doing is coherent and aligned with best practices that are ethical.
So I absolutely love being a therapist. It's one of the reasons why I became a researcher and one of the reasons why I became a professor. I love teaching students how to be marriage and family therapists. And there's always like this one moment in their 2-year program where they really just understand, they get systemic thinking. It's not intentional for them anymore, where it just becomes a lens in which they're able to answer questions in a way that considers culture, that considers context. And so they just get it. And it's just an amazing experience watching them grow into professional therapists.
Everyone has days that are good or frustrating, exciting or uncertain. But what's important is to take things one day at a time and to seek support when you need it. And marriage and family therapists can do just that, helping you understand your situation better with a holistic view of your life. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Kristen Morand, and we'll see you on the next episode as we explore the jobs of tomorrow.